The police found Kevin in his bedroom the next morning. He was sitting upright in bed, eyes wide open, mouth sealed shut with a thick layer of hardened wax. His nostrils were sealed too. The EMTs said he suffocated in his sleep, but the weirdest part? His face was smooth, completely smooth. No lips, no eyelids, no features, just pale skin where everything should have been. Amanda and I told them the truth. About the Wilson house, about the candle, about what we saw after midnight. They didn't believe us. But I know what I saw in that hallway, and I know he's coming for us next. The first time I heard about the candle man, it was in the back of an old diner, the kind that smelled like burnt coffee and fried eggs. The place was half empty, rain streaking the windows. When Kevin leaned across the table and said, "You ever heard the story? The one about the candle man?" He said it like it was supposed to scare me. I just raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like a bad Halloween decoration." "No, I'm serious," Kevin said. "My cousin's friend's brother." "Ah, here we go," said Amanda, stirring her milkshake. Classic urban legend starter. "Shut up, Mandy. I'm telling you, it's real. You light a candle after midnight, blow it out before it burns all the way, and you make a wish. The candle man comes to grant it, but not for free." The diner light flickered, just enough to make the moment uneasy. I smirked. "And what does he take in return?" Kevin leaned in. His voice dropped. "He takes your face." That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. The night air was sharp and cold when we left the diner, the streetlights casting yellow cones onto the empty road. Amanda jogged to catch up with me, her boots splashing in puddles. "You know he's just trying to freak us out, right?" She said. "Yeah," I said. "But what if he's not?" She rolled her eyes, but I saw it, the tiny flicker of curiosity. That's all it took. By the time we reached Kevin's beat-up Chevy, the plan was set. We'd meet at the abandoned Wilson house, the creepiest place in Brookhaven. No parents, no neighbors. Just a dusty shell of a home sitting at the end of a dead-end street. And at exactly midnight, we'd light the candle. The Wilson house had been empty for as long as I could remember. Its white paint had peeled to a dirty gray, the porch sagged like it was tired, and the front door had a permanent lean to it. The inside smelled of mildew and rot, the wallpaper curling like it was trying to escape the walls. We set up in what used to be the living room. Kevin placed a thick white candle in the center of the dusty floor. The flame's glow cast long, trembling shadows across the cracked ceiling. "All right," Kevin said, checking his phone. "It's 11:59. When it hits 12, we blow it out and make the wish." Amanda snorted. "What are we even wishing for? Free pizza for life?" Kevin grinned. "Nah, let's wish for something big. Like money or fame," I shrugged. "Fine, let's just get this over with." The seconds crawled by, the only sound the ticking of my old wristwatch. Then, at exactly midnight, Kevin gave the nod. We all leaned in, our breath stirring the flame PFFFT. The candle went out. The room felt instantly colder. Amanda laughed, the sound too loud in the empty house. Well, that was anticlimactic. Kevin's phone buzzed. He frowned, checked it. No signal, he muttered. Weird. I had full bars earlier. I rubbed my arms. Is it just me, or is it freezing in here now? Amanda opened her mouth to reply, then stopped. Her gaze fixed on the candle. It was relief. The wick burned low, flame dancing in complete silence. We hadn't touched it. Kevin's voice was thin. Did either of you? From somewhere in the house, a slow, dragging sound began. It came from the hallway. Something was moving toward us. The dragging sound grew louder. It wasn't footsteps. It was like something heavy was being pulled across the floor, slow, steady, with a faint wet scrape between each pull. We froze. Kevin shined his foam light toward the hallway. The beam only stretched a few feet before it seemed to dissolve in the darkness, like the air itself was swallowing it. Probably a raccoon, Amanda whispered, though her voice was tight. Raccoons didn't sound like that. The sound stopped. Then, something breathed. It was low and raspy, like air forcing its way through a clogged pipe. I could feel it vibrating in my chest. Kevin swallowed. Okay, that's... The candle's flame suddenly jumped, stretching tall and thin, almost touching the ceiling before snapping back down. And that's when we saw him. At the far end of the hallway stood a figure. At first I thought he was wearing some kind of waxy, dripping mask, but then I realized it wasn't a mask at all. His skin was wax. Thick rivulets ran down his cheeks, his jaw sagging like it was melting. His eyes were just pits, black and hollow, with a faint flicker of orange deep inside. In one hand, he held a melted candle, only it wasn't sitting on a holder. It was fused into his palm. The wax ran over his fingers, hardening, cracking, then melting again in an endless cycle. He tilted his head at us, and as he did, his neck made the faint snap-pop sound of cooling wax. Amanda's breath caught. Oh my God. The candle man started walking, or rather dragging. His left leg moved normally, but the right was stiff, scraping along the floor. Kevin backed up toward the front door. All right, game's over, we're leaving. The candle man stopped. Slowly, he raised one dripping hand, pointed directly at Kevin, and blew out the candle in his palm. Our candle in the middle of the room went out too. We were plunged into complete darkness. Amanda screamed. I grabbed my phone and fumbled for the flashlight, but the screen wouldn't turn on. Kevin cursed somewhere in the dark. The air had gone icy cold, and I could hear wax cracking, wax dripping somewhere close, too close. The dragging sound started again, circling the room, as if he was walking the perimeter, learning the shape of the space we were trapped in. And then, Kevin made a choking noise. I spun toward the sound just in time for the light on my phone to finally flicker on. Kevin was standing stock still, eyes wide, his mouth sealed shut with fresh, glistening wax. The wax ran over his cheeks, his eyelids, even his nostrils. He clawed at his face, nails tearing skin, but it was no use. Amanda screamed again, and the candle man was just behind Kevin now, towering over him, that flicker of orange light glowing in his hollow eyes. He whispered something, a sound like wind, moving through a candle flame, and Kevin dropped to his knees. Within seconds, Kevin's face was gone, smooth, pale skin stretched where his features had been. The candle man tilted his head again, as if admiring his work. Amanda grabbed my arm. We have to go now. We bolted toward the front door. I yanked on the handle locked. I didn't remember locking it. Behind us, the dragging started again. I threw my shoulder into the door, wood splintering, and finally it burst open. Cold night air hit my face like a slap, and we ran into the street without looking back. We didn't stop until we reached the diner again. Lungs burning, legs aching. The street was empty. No sign of the candle man. No Kevin. By the time we called the police, it was 3:00 a.m. They searched the Wilson house top to bottom. No Kevin, no wax, no candle. Amanda and I sat on the curb, shivering under the flashing red and blue lights, telling them exactly what happened. The officers exchanged looks like they were already writing us off as kids playing a dumb prank. One of them, a stocky guy with a graying mustache, finally said, "We've had calls about that place before. Always teenagers. Always some weird story about a man made of wax. So you know about him?" I asked. The officer hesitated. "I know about people disappearing there. And if you're smart, you won't go back. But Kevin was my best friend. I wasn't about to just leave him." I didn't say it out loud, but I made myself a promise right then. If the candle man had taken him, I was going to find a way to bring him back. Even if it meant lighting another candle. Amanda didn't talk to me for 3 days after Kevin vanished. Not because she blamed me, though maybe she should have, but because we were both terrified to even say his name out loud. The police wrote it off as a runaway case. They found no sign of forced entry at the Wilson house, no footprints except ours, and no trace of Kevin's phone. His parents put up missing posters, but I could see in their eyes they'd already given up. I didn't. The diner felt wrong without Kevin. I sat in our usual booth, coffee going cold in front of me, staring at the rain sliding down the window. Amanda finally slid into the seat across from me. She looked pale, dark circles under her eyes. "I've been having dreams," she said quietly. "About him?" "The candle man?" She nodded. "He's standing at the foot of my bed, not moving, not breathing, just dripping." I shivered. "You sure it's just a dream?" She leaned forward, voice dropping. I wake up and my room smells like burnt wax. We needed answers. So that night, I went to the town library and pulled every dusty archive I could find about the Wilson house. Most of it was boring old property records, tax disputes, but then I found a yellowed newspaper clipping from 1947. Brookhaven candlemaker missing. Shop burned to the ground. The article was short. A man named Elias Morrows, local candlemaker, had been accused of murdering several children after bodies were found in the marsh behind his shop. He was never arrested because he vanished the night the townspeople burned his store down. One detail chilled me. Witnesses claimed they saw Elias standing in the flames, unmoving, wax running down his skin as if he were melting, before disappearing entirely. I showed Amanda the clipping. Her hands shook as she read it. "So, what, he's some ghost, a demon?" I shrugged. "Whatever he is, he's tied to candles, and the Wilson house. It's on the same land where his shop used to be." Amanda's eyes flipped up. "You're not suggesting we need to go back?" "No." Her voice was sharp. "You saw what he did to Kevin?" "I saw him take Kevin, which means Kevin's not gone. I hesitated. "Maybe there's a way to undo it. To bring him back." Amanda stared at me for a long moment. Finally, she sighed. "If we're doing this, we're not going in blind. We need to know the rules." We tracked down Mrs. Halpern, an elderly woman who had lived in Brookhaven her whole life. She remembered the candle maker. When I mentioned Elias Morrows, her eyes narrowed like I'd just said something dirty. "You stay away from that name," she hissed. "He hears it. What was he?" I asked. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He made more than candles. He made faces. Out of wax. Said it kept the soul from leaving the body. People thought he was crazy until children started disappearing. They say if you light a candle on his land after midnight, he'll come, wearing the faces he's taken. Can he be stopped?" Amanda asked. Mrs. Halpern shook her head. "Once he marks you, the flame won't die until he's taken what's his. The only way to survive is never to light the candle in the first place." I felt my stomach knot. "And if it's already been lit?" Her eyes slid to me, sharp and knowing. "Then the wick is already burning, child. All you can do is run or trade." Trade. The word stuck with me long after we left her house. That night, I dreamed of Kevin. He was standing in the dark, his face smooth and featureless, reaching for me. Behind him, the candleman's eyes flickered like dying embers. When I woke, the air in my room was cold enough to see my breath. On my nightstand was a small lump of hardened wax shaped like a mouth. Amanda called me 10 minutes later. "He's getting closer," she said. I think we're running out of time." We decided to go back to the Wilson house the following night. I brought a flashlight, a crowbar, and a small jar of salt. I didn't know if salt would work on something like him, but horror movies had drilled the idea into my head. Amanda brought her grandfather's hunting knife. When we stepped onto the porch, the boards groaned like they were warning us to turn back. The air inside was colder than it had been last time, the smell of burnt wax so strong it made my throat tighten. We set the candle on the floor again, though every nerve in my body screamed at me not to. Amanda's hands trembled as she lit it. "We're insane," she muttered. The flame flickered. Somewhere deep in the house, the dragging began. The dragging sound was closer now. We stood frozen in the Wilson house living room, the candlelight trembling like it could feel fear too. Shadows jittered on the peeling wallpaper, stretching and shrinking with each flicker. Amanda gripped the hunting knife so tight her knuckles were white. "Say something," she whispered. "I can't," I said. My voice barely made it past my throat. "He's here." The hallway beyond the candle swallowed light. Then he emerged. The candle man was taller than I remembered, his head tilted at an unnatural angle. His skin glistened, thick and pale, with rivers of wax slowly sliding down his arms and dripping to the floor. Where a face should have been, there were several overlapping, like masks pressed into half-melted clay. Their mouths opened and closed in silent screams. He stopped just short of the candle. The flames flared high, throwing his dripping form into grotesque relief. A dozen whispers hissed from his many mouths, merging into words. One was taken, two remain. One may be freed. Amanda's eyes widened. Kevin, he means Kevin. The candle man's head twitched toward her. The wax faces seemed to shift, revealing, just for a second, Kevin's terrified eyes inside the mess. I stepped forward. "What do you want?" The voices hissed again. "A trade. Face for face. Flame for flame." Amanda shook her head violently. "No, no way. We're not killing someone else for him." But then Kevin's muffled scream echoed through the room, so faint I thought I imagined it. My stomach twisted. This was the choice Mrs. Halpern meant. The candle man raised one hand, and the candle's flame stretched impossibly tall, nearly touching the ceiling. In it, I saw flashes Kevin trapped behind a wall of cooling wax, clawing at the inside, his mouth sealed shut. I thought about all the nights we'd laughed in the diner, about how he always gave me the last fry without asking. I thought about the posters his parents had stapled to telephone poles, flapping in the wind. Could I live with myself if I walked away? Could I live with what it would take to save him? Amanda grabbed my arm, pulling me back. "We're leaving now." The candle man's many faces turned toward her in unison. I realized then he didn't care who it was. He just wanted a soul. If I ran, Amanda would be next. I shoved her toward the door. "Go." She stumbled, almost dropped the knife. "What the hell are you? Go!" I screamed. She hesitated only a second before bolting into the night. The candle man's head swiveled toward me, dripping wax splattering the floor. I picked up the candle. "Take me," I said. My voice shook, but the words were steady. "Let him go." The whispers fell silent. He stepped forward, wax feet sticking to the rotted wood. His hands, hot and heavy, closed over my head. The melting smell was suffocating. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't. The last thing I saw was Kevin standing in the doorway, wax cracking and falling from his face, his eyes wide with horror as he realized what I'd done. Amanda told the police she found Kevin wandering near the edge of town at sunrise. He couldn't remember how he got there, couldn't remember me. In fact, no one remembered me. Amanda swears sometimes she feels watched at night, but when she turns, there's nothing there, just the faint smell of wax. And if you drive past the Wilson house now, people say they see a figure in the upstairs window, a figure holding a single candle, waiting for the next midnight flame.